So you mentioned your sisters.
Mhm.
If you are, I want you to imagine that you are 10 years old.
Mhm.
If you're 10 years old, how old are your sisters? And
Oh,
by the way, do you have any brothers?
I have
So,
6 sisters.
six sisters.
6.
Can you wait? So, are you the oldest, the youngest?
Okay, so my dad has, my dad had a lot of kids.
Okay.
So my mom and my dad had 3 together.
Okay, got
So
it.
I'm the oldest.
Are
of
the
those
3 together the ones you grew up with?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old are those 2? If you're 10.
So one is 8, and one is about 2.
Oh, wow. So you're
So
the
I'm
oldest.
7 years. Yeah, 7
Okay.
years older than the youngest.
Okay, got it, got it,
Yep.
got
And
it.
me and the 8-year-old, we were brought up like twins. So people
Okay.
thought we were twins. They didn't realize I was older. I mean, they knew I was more mature, but they didn't
Right.
realize I was older than her.
Okay. So your other 3 sisters, did you like interact with them a lot?
My oldest, okay, my mom has a daughter she has a daughter before me. That
Okay.
she had when she was a teenager. And she is 3 years older than me.
Okay.
And she wasn't raised with us.
Okay.
But she came to live with us when she was a teenager briefly. But she lived in Chester
Okay.
with her grandmother. So, but we came up with her. She just didn't physically live in our house with us. And my dad had his first daughter. She's about 7 years older than me.
Okay. If you're 10, she's 17.
Yeah, 17, 18.
Okay.
And then he had 2 with the same woman. So he had one with one woman,
Right.
their mom. She's not a woman, it's their mom. And then the other 2, I'm like right in the center of them.
Okay.
So I'm 2 months. Should I say their names? I don't know.
You don't have to say their names. You don't have to say their
So
names.
there's one of them. She's older than me, and then she's 2 years older than me, and then me and the second one, we're 2 months apart. I'm 2 months older than her.
So when you referred to your sisters who were fighters, were you referring to, like, who was you
All of
referring
them.
to? All of them.
All of them. I'm gonna
Okay.
get my sister to fuck you up. That's how I was. My older
Right.
sister, because my older sister she was the firecracker. She still is. She's the one. She's the last. She come through. She came through. People tightened up, and she hung with people who was like that.
Got it.
She came back then. She came through with the big earrings, the Jeep with the big sound, drug dealer boyfriend, and she jumped. It was who messing with you. She didn't care how old they was. Who messing with you?
Got it.
And then her friends, well, who messing with you? And then they roll up, and then so it was protection when she came around because you knew she was not gonna. She was jumping in on anybody.
What was that like? What was your relationship like with all your sisters?
The 2 that I'm wedged in between, we actually didn't really start building our relationship until our father died. So we knew them, but it was more like they're your sisters, but then we didn't see them for months.
Okay.
So as a child, you like, well, how are their sisters and we don't see them? But or we was like, well, that's dad's friends' kids type thing. But when our father was murdered and we went to the funeral, we were just kind of like, oh, it just made sense. It was like, you really are our sisters. And then our moms, their moms, all the moms knew each other.
Right.
They had relationships. They knew each other.
Okay.
So they kind of was like, all right, it's time to just push everybody together. Well, the oldest one my mom helped raise her. She lived with us a lot. So we always knew her. But the other 2, their mom, she was just like, yeah, it's time.
So the ones you grew up with, like the closest, what was your relationship like with them?
It was the 4 of us, my older sister and the 2 younger ones. And it was good. It was good.
So you were the middle child then, literally?
I always say it depends on who you ask.
Okay.
Because I'm the oldest. But then if you put us all together, I'm the middle.
Got it.
You know what I mean? So it depends on what combination you have with us.
Okay.
So with the ones that lived with me, the 2 that lived with me, I was certainly the oldest. And it was cool. It was cool. The youngest one, I treated her like my baby doll. So whenever I started working, I would buy her things. Kind of like a surrogate mom to help my mom out with her. the one next to me, we always had friction, but everyone said we were night and day. And that's how they would describe us, even in school. They would say, Monica's night and Monica's day and she's night, because she was the one. She didn't play, she fought. And then the fact that we looked alike.
Right.
So going to school was a challenge, because I would go early in the morning, and then she would come, the next, shift in school, and people would say, I just saw you at Fern Rock. And I'm like, you ain't seen me, I've been here.
Right,
so it
right.
was like that. But it caused problems sometimes, because she would have her own crew she hung with, and they would have their own beef with certain people. So they would see me and be like, "Oh, there she go right there." And I'm like,
you don't
"Wait
even
a
know.
minute, yeah, hold up, like, yeah." So I mean, came home and told me a story that she was at Fern Rock, which was the end of the subway line, to catch the next bus to take us to the far northeast, and someone thought she was me and went and pulled her ponytail, and she had a pencil in her hand, so she turned around and just stabbed him with the pencil. So, but we used to get mixed up a lot. But if you saw us, you could tell the difference.
Right, right.
But so we were night and day. We dressed alike. We had our sometimes had the same hairstyles, but personality wise, we were just total opposites of each other.
Did you ever live with both parents at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So until when?
80, my dad, he was murdered in August 88. So I would say a year before that he lived with us. He was with us.
Okay.
My dad was back then you call it big shot.
Okay.
So he was, in the street. Everybody knew him. Ladies' man, handsome, dark chocolate, wavy hair.
What was his name?
Albert.
Shout out Albert.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, women liked him.
Okay.
So, it was my mom. He was about 12 years older than my mom. My mom was young. My mom was 20 when she had me. So she was already with him for, a couple years before that. So she was young. So, he had women.
Right.
So, and I think that caused a lot of friction between him and my mom. He would leave, he would be there, then we wouldn't see him, then he'll come back. But his mother owned a lot of property, so we always lived in houses she owned. So because we lived in those houses, he would just always come and be there, and then he would go back out. And, the child seems forever,
right?
But it might have been a couple days, and then he'll come back, type thing.
What was your relationship with him?
I would say it was good. He died when I was I think I may have just turned 11.
Okay.
So, I would say it was good, but he did drugs. Back then it was like syrup and weed and stuff like that. So, and pills. They did that stuff back then. So, I guess when he would come down off of that, he would just be rageful. So that was kind of scary. So it was like I never really knew. I was very timid. I was very shy and timid and quiet. So I never knew when he would flip. So I think my relationship with him was more, I loved him and I adored him, but I was a little hesitant.
Okay.
I didn't know when that rage would happen. So.
My condolences too. We're sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
Do you know what happened?
Yeah.
What ultimately happened to him?
A girlfriend of his killed him.
A girlfriend of his?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We believe she set him up. And he went to the house. I never forget. He came to our house like in August. And
this is August 88.
August 88. He came and he would just pop up. You just see him come around the corner. And he'd be outside playing, and he would pop up and, give us money or talk to us and make promises. I'm coming back, all this stuff. So this time he was like, no, I'm coming back, I'm marrying your mom. They weren't married. And, as a child, you're like, oh, okay. You're hopeful. And then a couple of days later, I knew something wasn't right. So my mom was laying on a couch, and she was looking out the window. It was at nighttime, like late at night, so they was to play like the Quiet Storm on the radio.
Right.
And she was looking out the window, and my dad was friends with a guy that was a DJ, a radio DJ at the time, and I remember the guy announcing and something he mentioned my dad's name on the radio.
Okay.
And I was just like, I remember just looking at my mom, and she was looking out the window, and she listened to the music, and I heard that, and then
Wait. So you found out about it through the radio?
No. I heard him announce my dad's name, but I don't remember why he said it.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember him saying it, because I was like, oh, he said dad's name on the radio. And the next day, this was a Saturday. The next day, me and my sister was watching wrestling.
Right.
The Sunday morning wrestling, and my mom came in the room. They had to talk to y'all. And we was like, yeah. She was like, your dad died. We was like, okay. And I just remember her saying that, and then I guess we went in our room. We shared a room. And we cried. But we just didn't know what that really meant until the funeral.
Okay.
And then we went to the funeral, and we saw him laying there, and we saw everyone crying. And, you know, being in the limo, it was kind of like nervous, like, well, what's going on, you know? And I think the funeral is when I realized
reality set in.
Yeah, because I mean, I had been to a funeral maybe one time, and then right after the funeral, we went to North Carolina to a family reunion. So it was no connection, like, okay, we seeing this person, and then we're leaving.
Right.
But for this one, it was like all the attention was on us. So,
But you were old enough to remember your dad vividly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember him. I remember him physically. I remember the cars he drove. I remember him knowing everybody and everywhere we went. I just remember how big he was, like tall and just towering over everybody. And I remember just everybody knowing him. You know, nowhere we went, he did not know. And the confidence he carried. It was like he would just walk in the room, and he drew the attention wherever he went. So, you know, as a child, you walk with someone who carries that much confidence and gets that much attention, you feel safe. So that's what I remember most about him.
Was he from North Philly too?
No, he was from Ardmore.
Okay, PA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, yeah, on the other side of City Avenue. Yeah, Ardmore, Lower Marion.
Okay.
But he always stayed in the city. He was a city dweller.
Got
He
it.
liked the city.